You're muted. Oh, our video's not on. Here's our video.
How's everybody doing?
I'm well.
Well, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Hello.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, hey. Pete, you got a guest?
Hey, yeah, it's technical support.
She has me in here as Laura Sebasti. Here, why don't you sit down?
Oh, I can find it. We'll get rid of that. Pete.
You supposed to be looking at that?
My goodness, there's a lot of people joining us.
Wait, I think there's something on here with Lyle. I don't think we're supposed to be seeing your emails.
Okay.
Somebody hadn't paid something.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to know it. Okay, that's better.
Bobby Rosenblum.
What?
I see a fellow that I know, Bobby Rosenblum.
I don't see anybody yet. How will you do that?
Well,
Oh, the gallery. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just us.
Really?
What do you say, Gary?
Hey y'all, it's Chris Tardio. I don't have a name tag up there. I'm on my firm's account, so GCE is me.
Chris, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good.
Lyle, we have Gloria, Pete, myself, Chris Tardio, and who else is going to be a board member?
Mal Wall is.
Now Wall, okay.
Yeah. We had Haley Dale, but something came up and she had to pick a kid up at the airport and drive home or whatever. So
Okay.
Mal will be joining us.
Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You are in the meeting now. There are more than 20 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You are
No.
you are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself.
This may be the most we've had in a Zoom meeting. There's Mal right there.
Where is he?
I don't see everybody. I'm on gallery and I don't see him. I only see 6 of us.
I don't see Mal yet.
He's just now joining.
There he is, yeah. Okay. Is that John Bearden?
Oh, I see.
I don't have a way to set it right now.
How do I do this?
Eddie Glazer.
Uh-oh.
Is Beth Reardon going to be on?
I think she's on already.
Is she?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's
We
acting
can
up.
call in now on cell phone.
Yeah.
They won't see your face, but they can hear you, which is half the battle. He's gonna put it up there.
But we can't see the images.
Isaac, I see you.
I did share my video, so I don't know if I should stop doing that or. Get in here real quick.
Do you like a computer, delete or something, just to erase the screen?
Yeah. Got something
Got it.
else. I really hate to be telling you this.
There we go.
All right, does everybody see everybody else?
Yep.
Okay. Mal, are you on here? I see your name. Would you unmute yourself? All participants of the board, would you unmute yourself, please?
I'm unmuted.
I got Pete.
Unmuted.
I've got Mal. Got Joe, Gloria, and who else am I missing on the board?
Chris is here. I'm
There's
in the.
Chris Cardio.
I don't know where I am on your screen, but I'm in the corner of mine.
Hey, Chris, Joe.
Hey, Joe. Good to see you.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mel.
All right, looks like we have a quorum. I'm going to go ahead and read this little preamble, and then I will turn it over to the chairman. All board members and members of the public have been invited. Electronic meeting details and materials related to items of business. Upon entering the meeting, all participants except the board members and staff will be muted. The chairman will call the meeting to order, and the building official will read the meeting procedures. After the meeting procedures are read, the chairman will conduct a roll call to establish a quorum and document members of the board in attendance. The building official will then proceed with items of business on the agenda. The chairman will ask for public comment at the appropriate time. At this time, all meeting participants will be unmuted to provide comment. To provide comment, please state your full name and address. The chairman will then recognize you by name. Please be respectful of meeting participants by being silent while others are speaking. Be aware of your background noise and mute yourself if necessary. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Welcome, everybody, to the June 16th, 2020 meeting of the Belle Meade Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm Joe Dugman. I'm here joined by board members Gloria Sternberg, Pete Zabasky, our vice chairman, Mal Wall, and Chris Tardio. Am I leaving anybody else out? Is Doug Berry here?
Doug is here.
Okay, Doug Berry is our city legal counsel, and we're also joined by Beth Reardon, city manager, and Edie Glazer, our city recorder. There are, let's see, 2 items of old business and 3 items of new business. Am I correct?
Yes.
And so each applicant here on the agenda is here because they've requested a building permit which has been denied, and they're here to appeal. It's the responsibility of this board to hear your appeal and determine if there's a compelling reason that would allow the board to grant your request while at the same time protecting the intent and integrity of the city ordinance. The board can only hear what's published in your appeal. Any items that come up that are not included cannot be heard. If the board grants an approval, it will be specific to your request, and you must comply with all other regulations. Our procedure for the evening will be as follows. Our city building inspector, Lyle Patterson, will introduce each item. The applicant or their representative may present the appeal, and when doing so, as Lyle indicated, please introduce yourself to the record. There'll be time for the board to ask questions, and we'll solicit any comments from anyone in attendance. Please introduce yourself, any members of the public. I'll close off the public section, and the board members will deliberate in open forum. The board members may choose to have different additional conversations with each applicant as needed. A board member will then file a motion, a second will be required, and the entire board will vote. It'll require a majority for it to be granted. Any decision of the board that's granted, we ask that you remove your yard sign and pull a permit within a year. If the appeal is denied, we ask that you remove your yard sign. If it's deferred, we ask that you keep the yard sign up. Each of us as board members have familiarized ourselves with each of your applications. We've reviewed your submitted material and made a site visit if necessary. I'll ask the current members of the board if there's any conflicts. If not, We have a quorum. So, Mr. Patterson, I think we're ready for the first applicant.
All right, thank you. First item under old business, the application of Susan Garrity, 312 Deer Park Circle for a variance and conditional use permitting the construction of a pool and pool equipment. Building permit has been denied for the following reasons. Pool is outside building envelope. Pool equipment is outside building envelope. Staff does not recommend approval. Whoever is representing 312 Deer Park Circle, if you would, unmute yourself and you are up.
This is Jerry Garrity, but I believe Ed or Ben Page should be on. I don't see them.
I do not see Ed or Ben Page. I do see Gavin Duke.
Gavin, are you representing, speaking to the proposal tonight?
Lyle, can you hear me?
Gavin, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Hey, maybe come in the front conference room.
So we were looking for Ben Page or Ed Tessier. I don't, Gavin, are you representing?
Okay. Lyle? Hello?
Yes, Ben, I hear you.
It's frozen.
Lyle?
Yes, Ben.
Okay, I'm sorry. We are having some technical problem. There's a glitch. We don't have any visuals, and we're getting very intermittent sound. Can you all hear me?
I can.
We can hear you. There's no echo, if that's what you mean.
Are you calling in on the computer or a phone?
Well, we're on a computer, but we can call on the phone if that's more convenient.
Well, I think it'd be a good idea if you had visual. I'm going to share the screen in a minute, but if you can't see all the participants, that means you can't see the screen. I wonder if we take it in here as a picture.
You not hear us?
Can you hear me, Lyle?
Gavin, I can hear you.
I can see the screen now.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry about all this. This is Ben Page. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we apologize. There's something floating around in our computer that's messing up. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to represent this issue tonight. And we are requesting a variance for the construction of this pool. And just briefly, I want to restate what we said last month, that we've developed this very simple plan for a small pool at the Garrity's residence, which we feel very strongly is in harmony with the neighborhood. And we'd like to go over a list, as we did the last time, of the adjacent pools and in the proximity to the neighborhood, so that you get a contextual relationship. And Lyle, can you bring up, yes, thank you. This, and can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes. Is everybody able to see that on their screens?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, we're just having a terrible time hearing. I'd like to go over the list of the adjacent pools, existing pools in the neighborhood. At 405 Belle Meade Boulevard, there's a pool that's 42 feet from the property line. At 301 Jackson Boulevard, there's a pool that's 19 feet from the property line. At 306 Deer Park Circle, there's a pool that's 26 feet from the property line. At 310 Deer Park Circle, there's one that is 19 feet from the property line. At 311 Deer Park Circle, there's one that's 48 feet from the property line. at 224 Deer Park Deer Park Drive, there's one that's 56 feet from the side property line. And I'm sorry?
I think I got it. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna keep going.
Okay. Was that clear for everybody? Did everybody able to hear that?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, we heard you.
Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, this pool is a small pool. It's 16 by 32 feet. There's an existing solid masonry wall that surrounds the back property and the adjacent side property line. This pool is 36 feet away from the rear property line and 37 feet away from the side property line. It's under all the square footage requirements, as you can see on the summary list for square footage masonry material. So in summary, I feel like this pool is very sympathetically tied to the contextual neighborhood. It's a small pool designed to be used by a family in this beautiful home. And we're really anxious to see if, you all could see your way through to approve this pool. There are, as I suggested to you all, there are many other pools in this neighborhood much closer to adjacent property lines. So if there's any questions, I'd love to be able to try to answer them.
Question.
Does anybody have any questions?
I'm sorry, I wasn't part of the prior discussions, but the dotted blue line is the building envelope.
Yes.
So major portions of the house and all of the swimming pool are outside the building envelope.
Yes, that's correct.
And I have a question. This is Gloria. Joe?
Go right ahead. Sorry, Corey.
So this is switched from conditional use to variance. Can you talk through the variance request in terms of why we are now discussing a variance?
Well, it's a corner lot and it's outside the building envelope. And I think Lyle could speak more thoroughly to exactly the issues on the variance. But again, as submitted last month, it was suggested we bring it back as a variance request.
That's correct. All pools, as you know, are a conditional use, and it was suggested last month by the board and by city attorney that maybe it should be written as a variance. So I've covered all the bases and listed it both ways.
Let me say, as Doug Berry, the attorney, it's not that it's one or the other, it's both. I mean, all pools are conditional use. Here, because the pool is being built outside of the building envelope, which is required by the zoning ordinance, they would have to have a variance to allow that. And the conditions for a variance in the ordinance are that the lot would have an unusual shape, size, or topographic feature compared to other properties in the neighborhood. And the BZA would grant a variance if it determined the variance could be granted without detriment to the public good, substantially impairing the intent and purpose of this ordinance, and the resulting home would not be out of harmony with the other homes in the neighborhood. And I think Mr. Page has pointed out part of the last requirement, and possibly all the other requirements sufficiently. Not my vote, but I would say they're legally sufficient. But the question I have is, what's the unusual feature of this lot then that makes it, Mr. Page, that makes it a variance appropriate here? So that's the question I would assume the board would have.
Well, I mean, you can certainly see, if we could go to the next one, all pool that we're requesting is tightly knit to the house and the existing garden. This, the landscape that's here is deeply embedded for privacy's sake all the way around. So again, this being a lot that's half the size of the adjacent property behind where the pool was 48 feet, we feel like there's a sufficient evidence for a variance here for a pool.
Yeah, this is Jerry Garrity. The other thing I might say is I talked to my neighbors on my immediate left, and I believe they sent a email in to Kyle about a month ago at the first hearing in support of this. They're very much in support of it. They have no reservations about it. And that was Jane and Jack Jocks, and then Les and Elizabeth Coble also sent one in. So, you know, I think in terms of the neighbors, obviously they already have pools that are, as Ben said, closer to the property lines than this would be, but they were in support of it. You know, they kind of understand why we would like it. We both families, or at least the Jocks and my family, we both have grandkids and would love to have some entertainment. In
I'm
addition
sorry,
to
we're
all-
losing about half of the comments, so I apologize. I don't know what's happened to our computer.
Yeah, Ben, I was just trying to emphasize the, you know, support we're getting from the neighbors for this this project. This is Jerry.
Is there anybody else that's going to speak on behalf of this applicant? The applicant has spoken, Ben Page has spoken. Anybody else?
Jerry, Joe, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Last month when the applicant was here, it was determined that because it was just a conditional use, we couldn't rule on it. We didn't have the authority. It'd have to be a variance for us to even consider it. And I think Doug was pointing out that in essence, there's two votes on this house or this application that is required tonight. One is, does the lot meet the criteria for a variance? Not how the house sits on the lot, but just the lot itself. If there was no house on the lot, how could we rule? So the first question is, does the lot meet the criteria for a variance? If it doesn't,
We can't hear.
if it doesn't meet the criteria for a variance, then the board has nowhere to go with this. So it seems to me that the compelling reason for a variance hasn't been stated, because it has everything to do with the lot and nothing to do with how the house sits on the lot.
Hey, Joe, let me ask a question. This is Chris.
Go right ahead, Chris.
Doug, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right ordinance here. Can you just read that first?
Yes.
The unusual date?
Yes, this is on page 14-37 of the zoning ordinance. It's section 14-206D, variances. If the property had, on August 16, 1950, an extraordinarily unusual shape, size, or topographic feature as compared to other properties in the immediate neighborhood, then the BZA may grant a variance. If it determines that such variance may be granted without detriment to the public good, 2, substantially impairing the intent and purpose of this ordinance, and 3, the resulting home will not be out of harmony with the other homes in the neighborhood. Now, that language suggests that the variance is being sought for a home, a vertical structure, but any property owner may seek a variance from any provision of the zoning ordinance. So you would have to substitute the pool for the homes. And I think Mr. Page has made a good case for leg 3, that this wouldn't be out of harmony. But it has to have been a lot of record in August 16, 1950. And also there has to be some unusual shape, size, or condition. It's not a perfect square, but I don't know whether that's what's causing the hardship that is requiring the need for variance. So I think you should turn it over to the applicant and the owners and see what they can come up with to approve that leg of it, Steve, because otherwise it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be hard for the board to grant relief. If that's what you're saying.
Well, I was we can have these kinds of discussions when we close off the public portion, but I'd like to hear
Well,
if there's anybody else, anybody from the applicant or the applicant's representative, or anybody else that wants to speak on their behalf.
Let me see. What the hell is yours now? Yeah, I mean, I think this is Ed Tesser with Page Duke. I think the thing is that with the current zoning.
Who is speaking, please?
Oh, can you hear? How do you mute your computer?
I'd like to ask if you're going to make a comment, you state your name, please.
There. Oh.
Sorry, this is Ed Tesser with Page Duke. Even you can see with the current zoning in the building envelope, the house wouldn't even be able to be constructed on this lot because it basically has 2 front yards, in that the building envelope is basically a little small, I guess, parallelogram within the body of the house. So I think what we're asking is to kind of be able to build outside the building envelope, because under current code, even a house wouldn't be able to be constructed on the lot. And again, we're trying to keep everything within the harmony of the whole neighborhood and keeping things, away from the property line, keeping the pool kind of within behind the body of the house, as well as the pool equipment, essentially kind of within the building footprint of the lot.
I think this is Jerry Garrity, and maybe it's also, this is the owner, is also, should be noted, that this home was a remodel of an existing home on that footprint that dates back prior to the 50s. I forget how, I think the original home was probably built in the 30s or 40s. It was remodeled by a prior owner to myself in 1995 and brought from a single story to a double story, 2-story home. So I think they inherited where the home was on the lot when they remodeled it in 1995. So because the existing single-story home was incorporated into the 2-story home. So I don't know if that has any impact on how you view the variance, but I mean, I think that, and if you look at the other homes in the neighborhood, a lot of them are homes that have been remodeled over the years. And I think that's where we go to this concept of staying in harmony with the overall neighborhood, because there have been a bunch of homes that predate the 50s that were remodeled, and then pools were incorporated at different points in time prior to the current zoning rules, which require the 60-foot setback. So,
Lyle, can I ask a question?
Who's speaking?
This is Mal.
Okay, sorry, Mal. Go right ahead.
If you rotated this house 90 degrees so it faced the other side street, would the building envelope be big enough to encompass this structure with the swimming pool behind it?
No. No matter where you face this house, it will not fit in that building envelope, and it will not include the pool.
Okay.
Lyle,
but this is Jerry
who
Garrity.
came up? Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Jerry Garrity. Wouldn't that be the case with for most, other than the home directly behind us, all the other homes on that street? I mean, we don't have the building envelopes, but I would assume they've got the same issue when you look at it. I mean, 310 Deer Park Circle, the house is as large as ours. It's just, oriented differently. And so is 306. 306 is probably a larger house.
Well, this is Joe Dugman. I want to say this, that we're not, those homes are not before us now. We don't know anything about their building envelopes or any of the history of those pools. I'd like for you to stick to your application and our regulations we have to follow, please, sir.
Joe, let me ask something. That building envelope, Lyle, who drew that building envelope?
I would imagine Paige Duke.
Well, look at it. Does it make sense that it's not 50% of that lot, and it seems like it's not wide enough for a building envelope.
Ed Tessier, can you speak to that?
Yes, this is Ed Tesser with Page Duke. When we started calculating the building envelope, with it being a corner lot, and I had some discussions with Lyle about this, essentially, you have 2 front yards. And so you have I believe it's the 125 kind of wrapping around on that Deer Park and Deer Park circle. And then when you do the calculations for the side yard, I mean, that's kind of where we ended up with the building envelope. And like I said, when I first started doing this, I had some conversation with Lyle, and we both kind of confirmed that this was the building envelope for this lot under the current zoning.
The lot faces Deer Park Circle. And can you give me the dimensions of the lot? The front.
Is that Pete speaking?
That's me.
Yeah.
Pete. What are, I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but it just seems to me that the building envelope is too small for that lot. Lyle, do you have that feeling, or just by a visual?
As Ed just said, we have 2 front setbacks. So the setback on the way the house is facing is correct. And I'm going to pull up a annotation here. So this front setback is correct with the front setback of this street. Then we have a front setback here that is correct with the street that runs up here, because we have 2 front setbacks. So that is correct according to the ordinance.
Is that the way most corner lots would work?
Yes.
But look at the neighbor across the street in the picture. Look at the neighbor on the Carrot, not the Carrot. Where is that?
Who is speaking, please?
This is Jerry Garrity. This house in the far left corner, the Chadwick's house, is not set back 170 feet from Deer Park Drive.
Well, now I will say that these homes were built before the ordinance for the building envelope was created. The reason for that was to preserve green space. Obviously, this building envelope this was a vacant lot, and this building envelope was given to us today, they'd have to build inside that building envelope or come to the planning commission to ask for permission to expand that building envelope. So the way that Page Duke has drawn this building envelope is correct according to 2 front setbacks.
I mean, one thing that I think.
Mr. Gary again, sir, please identify yourself when you speak.
This is Jerry Garrity again, the owner. I mean, if you look at the whole neighborhood of Deer Park, all these new zoning rules would not, you couldn't build half the homes on the lots. And I mean, the character of the neighborhood is somewhat smaller lots, somewhat smaller homes, but very well landscaped. And many of them have, like ours, has a brick wall around 3 sides encompassing the backyard. So they're very private areas, even though they're small. And that's why I guess a lot of people have been able to have pools that basically didn't bother anybody and kind of kept within their own home site and also kept within the overall harmony of the neighborhood without, because most pools you look at on this map, even the ones we didn't highlight, don't fit the criteria of being set back 60 feet from the property lines.
This is Mal again. Doug, is our ordinance written to say that a corner lot has to have 2 front yard setbacks?
I think that's, Lyle would be a better person to answer. I think if it's not, it's the way it's been consistently interpreted. And, you know, oftentimes with 2 front yards is considered an unusual situation of a lot. It's just for the record. But Lyle, is that somewhere? It's not in the variance section, but I think elsewhere it does say that, does it not?
Yes, it does. Don't see where that would help the rear yard because this house is oriented the front door. So I don't see where that would help the 60-foot setback on the rear of the property. It might make the building envelope wider as you're standing in front of the house, but it doesn't help the depth.
Does anybody else want to speak on behalf of the applicant? If not, I'm going to close off the public portion.
This is the applicant, Jerry Garrity. I just would like you to consider that this pool would stay within the harmony of the neighborhood. It wouldn't be visible from the street, either street. And I think if I look at the picture for the whole neighborhood, it fits right in, and as does the footprint of the house versus the distance from the front and the sides. And it would be our intent to basically maintain, if not improve upon the landscaping such that it would be completely included within the backyard and not visible from basically any part, either neighbor, front or side street, the way it would be incorporated into the yard.
Thank you, Mr. Garrity. I'm going to close off the public portion and now have discussion among our board members.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Pete Sabaski. I guess I want to ask Doug. Doug, I mentioned earlier that the first thing we need to do to decide if this lot qualifies for a variance. Is that correct?
I think that would be the clearest process, Mr. Sebastian. Yes. Yes. So the answer to your question is, short answer is yes. That's how I would handle it. You could do a 2-part thing, but why confuse it? So I'd suggest you look at it first whether the variance is available. If it's not, the issues on the conditional use wouldn't arise.
Joe, this is Pete, are you fine with that?
Yes, exactly. That's what I would suggest we do. Do we find that it's an extraordinarily unusual shape, and was that addressed by the applicant or their representative?
And the other, Mr. Chairman, and also the other criteria for a variance, which we've read in it, which I think they've done a pretty decent job on that it doesn't disturb the harmony of the neighborhood and so forth. So.
Any other board members have any comments? Anybody have a motion? If not,
this is Gloria. I'm still uncomfortable with the fact that the variance has been proven.
so in what way you're saying that you don't find anything extraordinary about the shape of the lot compared to the others?
Compared to the others? Are we comparing it to the others, or we're just talking about this lot?
Well, the variance.
I mean, it's a lot that's under an acre lot, and it's somewhat of an unusual shape, but enough of an unusual shape to for us to call it a variance. I mean, to approve a variance.
Well, again, the ordinance says extraordinarily unusual shape as compared to other properties in the immediate neighborhood. That's the question.
And Lyle, where are you on this?
Well, at the beginning, I said staff does not recommend approval.
I'm struggling a little, this is Pete Savasky, I'm struggling a little with it being a corner lot in that building envelope. But Doug, does the fact that it's a corner lot have anything to do with it being, could it be a variance simply because it's a corner lot?
I have seen boards of zoning appeals grant variances because the owner has to deal with the strictures of 2 front setbacks. Whether that's the causative factor in this case, I don't know. I think you could do it. I think you could grant a variance if you were inclined to do so.
Even for conditional use?
Conditional uses, we're not there yet, as you correctly pointed out. This is just whether or not they can come outside of the strict standards of the zoning ordinance. The approval has to be within the zoning ordinance. And then you consider the criteria for specific conditional use, which is, you know.
Doug, this is Mal again. Are we allowed to, in this deliberation, to look at the adjacent properties, none of which could qualify under the rules that we're now using?
The ordinance says the criteria for a variance, is Pete just quoted, it says whether the property had an extraordinarily unusual shape, size, or topographic features as compared to other properties in the immediate neighborhood. So that is part of your inquiry. And then also you're getting into whether or not the resulting structure will be out of harmony with other homes in the neighborhood. So I guess, yes, and in 2 ways it is proper.
Well, I guess I could buy the fact that the pool's in harmony with the neighborhood because there's so many out there. But the fact of the matter is the lot is bigger than most of the other lots around it that already have pools on it.
Yeah. Well, in variance law, the unusual situation must be related to the hardship. So that's what you're saying. It can be unusual, but not cause a hardship.
Well, I want to say one thing also. It's true that we have to decide whether or not it meets the criteria of variance, but if you also look at the conditional use section, it says the following may be constructed or erected within the building envelope, which includes a swimming pool. So it's clear to me that the intent of the statute is to require, unless there's a variance issue, that it be built within the building envelope.
But there is no building envelope.
Joe, since this Pete again, since we're trying to determine if that lot is qualifies for a variance, if there wasn't anything on that lot, there wasn't a house, it was a blank lot, and that was the building envelope that they had to build within, I would probably determine that that lot would qualify as a variance if that were the building envelope that they have to build in. Because it is a large lot for that small building envelope, but that is the envelope since it is a corner lot, according to Lyle and the guys with Beige Duke that measured it and drew it. So if I look at it from that perspective, to me it's a it would qualify as a variance.
Well, I don't know how it's extraordinarily unusual shape compared to the other lots in the neighborhood. I'm reading the literal language of the variance statute. I see nothing extraordinary about that lot like we've seen in the past and proven in the past because of very unusual shapes of lots. This lot is large, and to me, there's nothing extraordinary about it compared to the others.
Well, this Pete again, if there wasn't a house on it, and you were just looking at that small envelope, building envelope, it wouldn't make sense to build a house that small on that large lot, would it?
Well, I don't know, but we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with an existing house on a lot.
Well, we're trying to figure out if that lot would qualify as a variance.
Yeah, I
And
know, but there's nothing extraordinary about that compared to the other lots.
Well, what is extraordinary is a corner lot. It's a corner lot which produced a real small building envelope. So
Well, this is Mal again. It's bigger than the other lots that surround it. It's basically square. And if we were talking about a new house on a scraped lot, we could be persuaded that it should have only one front yard and two side yards. And if you did that, you still couldn't get this house and the swimming pool on there because the lot's too small.
But we're not talking about swimming pool now. We're just trying to decide whether this qualifies for a variance. Swimming pool's the next vote.
But no, Pete, if I may say, Mr. Chairman, excuse me for interrupting, you're talking about whether the construction, whether the lot size or features impact the construction they're planning. So it does tie in with the swimming pool, because that's what they're talking about building. That's where they have to prove their hardship. If they can't build their project because of the unusual situation, that's the definition of the hardship. So I disagree with you there. I think you can talk about the pools. That's what they're talking about building. So the variance isn't granted for the lot; it's granted for the project, if you will. So sometimes the lot's features might not impact what's proposed. Sometimes they might, as you suggested with brand new construction, it might create a hardship. So I think you're on the right track. Y'all discussion is on the right track.
So this is Gloria. I have a question, Doug. So if this were a blank slate, it could go in front of the Municipal Planning Commission and be deemed a variance, or it would come.
Well, the Planning Commission creates new building envelopes, which is an unusual feature of our zoning ordinance. So then it could come back, and then the building would be approved.
So there wouldn't be a case here for going to the Municipal Planning Commission to
I don't know, Lyle. I haven't studied
create a variance.
I haven't studied the site as much as you have. Is there any reason that would help here?
Yeah.
Where are we now on this discussion? I'm trying to figure this out. Did you ask Lyle the question, or?
I should have asked back to you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just saying, Ms. Sternberg's question to me was whether or not the Planning Commission would have jurisdiction to alter the building.
Mr. Chairman, this is Lyle. May I add a comment?
Please.
The corner lot ordinance, I was the architect of, if you will, and I went to our former city attorney, Bob Patterson. The corner lot ordinance was mainly created to help develop corner lots that were undeveloped. It was to take away one of the street frontages. Now, if you want to look at this and say it's a variance, we could take away, I'm going to draw on the map here, we could take away the street up here to the north, which would extend the building envelope out here, like that. The house is oriented to this street. I don't see where that helps the rear setback of 60 feet.
No.
Well, I want to draw everybody's attention back to this literal language of the variance requirement, and that is the first sentence is, if it's an extraordinarily unusual shape as compared to other properties in the immediate neighborhood. I think that's the first thing we have to find, whether or not it is an extraordinarily unusual shape, size, or topographic features as compared to other properties in the immediate neighborhood.
This is Mal, and it's absolutely in keeping with everything that's around it.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what.
There's absolutely nothing unusual about the shape of that lot.
Well, I don't think there is either. I'm going to make a comment to that effect, and that we're compelled to follow the variance requirement. Otherwise, we're opening the door for a lot of other requests and not meeting and keeping, as far as I'm concerned, with the intent of this statute. Anybody want to make a motion?
This is Mal. I'll make a motion that we deny the applicant.
I'll second it. This is
Okay, that's
Gloria.
Gloria, second it. All in favor? Roll call. Pete?
Pete Sabaski, aye.
We've got, let's see. Mal, you made, Chris Tardio. Chris, what do you say?
Aye.
And Gloria voted aye. I vote aye. So the motion is denied. Excuse me, the motion passes, denying the request for a variance.
All right, next item under old business, the application of Brian Fox, 610 Belle Meade Boulevard, for a special exception permitting the construction of a fence and a conditional use for a swimming pool. Building permit has been denied for the following reasons. Fence is in other than permitted location. Pool requires BZA approval. Staff recommends approval. Whoever's representing for the Foxes, please, you're up.
Gavin Duke, landscape architect, Paige Duke. Can you hear me, Lyle?
Yes.
We went back and we appreciate you passing the parts of the house and bifurcating last month. And so we re-looked and revisited the pool. We shifted it. Now it is within the building envelope. And we also looked at the fence that is in question. It is 6 feet, and it is in a location that comes off of the corner of the screen porch. There it is in green. It's 6 feet, and it does not have a foothold. It would be flush with grade. And I think we have some elevations that show that as well, Lyle. And it should meet the requirements of the fence within Belle Meade. And just to mention, this will have boxwoods all the way around that we are reclaiming from around the house right now that, will be anywhere from 5 to 10 feet. And we are good on all of our calculations as far as the square footages are concerned. Our pool equipment is within the building setback. So we should have everything in compliance.
Gavin, are you going to address the pool as well, or just the wall?
Well, I was thinking at the first, the pool and the spa are both within the building setback. I don't know if you can see the dash line that goes from sort of north to south, northeast to southwest.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the other one is below the pool equipment structure, and it goes sort of from west to east. So yes, we did shift it within the building envelope. Last month it was out, and we've complied and brought it back in.
Thank you. Anybody else on behalf of the applicant want to speak? Does any board member have any questions of Gavin Duke? Surely somebody has a question.
This is Mal. Looks to me like they fixed it.
Yes. This is Gloria. I agree with Mal.
Yep.
This is Pete. Good job, Gavin.
Thank you. This is going to be a beautiful piece of property.
Those boxwoods are unbelievable. How old are those boxwoods, Gavin?
I would say at least probably 60 to 70 years old.
They are huge.
Yes, and we're reusing every one of them on site. We're trying to get some more light in the house, sort of covering the windows, but we're gonna make it look good along the boulevard as well. We're gonna kind of clean that up along the boulevard where it's sort of overgrown, and we're gonna try to put some of the boxwoods down there as well. Thank you.
Anybody else on behalf of the applicant? If not, I'm going to close off the public portion. Okay. All right, let's close it off. And board members, what do you say?
You want a motion?
Please.
Make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second by Mount Wall? So Chris, what do you say?
Aye.
Gloria?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well. So the motion passes by unanimous, all members of the board. Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
First item under new business, the application of the Temple 5015 Pike for a special exception permitting the construction of a playground. The building permit has been denied for the following reason. Under Appendix A, churches, schools, construction, and operation require BZA approval. Staff recommends approval. And whoever is representing the Temple, if you would, unmute yourself and you are up.
Good evening. My name is Mark Shepard. I'm the facility manager here at the Temple. What our intentions are to remodel the playground only. We're not doing anything to the existing structure of the building whatsoever.
What do you want to share with us what you're doing with the playground?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're doing a complete remodel and bringing in new equipment, a play space area for our preschool kids to enhance the enrichment of our education portion down in the preschool. There's play areas, there's water areas, there's plenty of shade. There are swing sets and slides and just different aspects to the to change the scope of the playground.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on behalf of the applicant want to speak?
Maybe Corey.
This is Gloria. Well, on behalf of the applicant, I'll wait.
If not, Gloria, go right ahead if you have a question.
I have a question. Is it in the space that's already bricked in? That's it looked like there were it was where an old playground was, correct? It's just replacing it.
Yes, it's where the old playground was, correct.
And it's within the walls that exist?
We're just extending the wall. We're extending, I've got Fred Yosdin with me.
Just moving the wall 20 foot.
We're moving the wall 20 foot out towards more towards our driveway.
But it still is under the allowable area.
Yeah.
That where that walkway is?
Yes.
A walkway that's
correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
It's within the area.
Yeah.
The drawing you're looking at actually already includes the extension. So that red mark, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you, Corey.
This is Joe Duggan again. Let me acknowledge Jim Hunt, our mayor. He's snuck in on us. Jim, are you here? He's muted, so I guess he's not speaking. Okay, I just want to acknowledge our mayor. Thank you.
It says within the allowable area.
Does anybody else want to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay, does the board members have any questions of the applicant? Okay, if not, I'm going to close off the public portion. We can always ask questions later, but board members, what do you say?
Looks pretty straightforward to me. This is Pete.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mal Wall seconds. Chris, what do you say?
Yes. Aye.
And Gloria?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well. So it's unanimous that the playground request has been approved by the board. Somebody's
Hey,
happy
Joe.
out there.
Hey,
We
Joe,
got-
this is Jim Hunt. I've been here. I just been listening. So
Okay. I wanted to say hello and glad you're here with us.
thank you and welcome to Chris as a new member.
Thanks,
Has-
Jim. Appreciate
Has Chris been officially approved?
No, that happens tomorrow, but he's an alternate. He's an alternate until tomorrow. Then he'll get
Okay.
voted on to be a permanent member.
Chris, you're on a short stick. You want to change your mind?
No, I'm fine. I think I'm ready to be move from alternate to official.
Okay. Thank you.
Second item under new business, the application of Kristen Payne, 4415 Harding, for conditional use permitting the construction of a sports court. The building permit has been denied for the following reasons. Sports courts are an accessory use and require BZA approval. Staff recommends approval. Whoever is representing for the Paynes, please unmute yourself and you are up. Whoever's representing Kristen Payne, if you would, please speak. Mr. Chairman, I don't see anybody.
Or I say forever hold your peace.
You could move it to the back of the meeting, Mr. Chairman, if you wish.
Yeah, we can.
I can text the representative and we'll move on to the next one if that's okay with you, Mr.
Sure, go right ahead.
All right, if you give me just a second.
I guess there's no.
So you want to go on and introduce the next one,
All right,
Lyle?
the next one, number 3 under the new is the application of Mark Jaricki, 600 Linwood Boulevard for conditional use permitting the construction of an accessory structure, a variance and special exception for grade change in walls. The building permit has been denied for the following reason. Accessory structure requires BZA approval. Grade change is over 24 inches between the property line and the 20-foot property line buffer. Walls over allowed height of 3 feet. Staff recommends approval. Whoever is representing for 600 Linwood Boulevard, please unmute and you are up.
Hello, my name is Isaac Wanlin. I'm the landscape architect for the project. Lyle, if you could go to X 1.0, that'd be good. It's the first one. So we just heard a case about a corner lot and the 2 front lot lines. And this is actually another kind of odd bird in that it is the last lot in Belle Meade. So that blue line that you see, and you're going to have to bear with me, we've got this oriented where north is down. So it might be a little confusing if you're used to thinking about Sunnybrook and Linwood. This is 600 Linwood. So it's the yellow lot that's highlighted there. So we're the only lot on Sunnybrook, on that corner of Linwood and Sunnybrook in Belle Meade. So the lot line provisions talk about how a front line is defined as the primary front is the one that faces the street. So we interpreted that as the street that basically the area facing Linwood, the front faces Linwood. But we actually, and so we don't have any lots in the city on our side of the street to establish the front for the other side. So we established that as a sideline. So if you zoom up to the upper left-hand side of that sheet and kind of zoom in there, you can see basically what is existing now. So there's an existing guest house that's very close to the sideline now. And that actually has a bed in it. It's a sleeping, it's a true guest house. We're basically asking for an accessory structure, which would have like a shop and a lounge, a pool table. The envelope you can see is established by the setbacks that are shown. So the main house, in this case, almost similar to the other case, the existing house is, the existing accessory structure, the guest house, is outside the envelope. Thank you, Lyle. And the existing house is also outside the front setback. So it's a sort of an odd bird lot. If you go to the next sheet, Lyle, we can show you sort of where all the variances and special exceptions are shown.
I'm sorry, Isaac, what'd you want?
I'm sorry, could you go to the next sheet in the set, which is L1.0, I believe? Well, actually, we could, why don't we, let's look at that photo real quick. Oh, am I there?
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Could you go back to that photograph actually on the previous sheet? Because that'll be a good little exercise to maybe zoom in on that. So this is the look, this is what you see from Sunnybrook as you're looking at the side of the house. You can see that red structure in the background is that existing accessory structure. Okay, so now you can go to that next page. So we've highlighted everything that's part of this request. We do have, so currently that existing accessory structure, it sits close to the sideline. It's also very elevated. The finished floor is approximately 5 feet higher than the existing house. So it sits up pretty high and it sits close to the line. So what we're doing with all of our requests, which would be the grade change, which is highlighted in that tiny little pie-shaped wedge right behind the area Lyle just highlighted. That's a little bit of a grade change. That's the 24 inches, greater than 24 inches, closer than 20 feet to the property line. And that's essentially basically there just so we can direct positive drainage around the finished version of our proposed area. So the retaining wall that is shown in blue, that's the wall that would be greater than 3 feet as it wraps around from the back corner of the house around. And basically that allows us to drop the proposed accessory structure down in grade elevation so that we bring it down in the site. So it'll be less, I guess, visible from the neighbor, and it brings it into the total envelope as noted by the red dashed lines. And if you can see the yellow outline of the proposed accessory structure. Overall, on all of our sort of ISR numbers, our hardscape, our percentages, our drive, et cetera, we're all under. The only one that's probably stands out to you is the roof, the roofs under, or low slope roofs, 612 and under. The existing house is a ranch style home, and it's all basically 612. So basically every roof that is existing and proposed would be under the 612 because that's what we have. So here's some site sections. This is trying to illustrate what you would see. The top elevation is what you would see from Sunnybrook in the proposed scenario. I should also mention that one of the things we're trying to do as part of this solution is to, currently the garage doors face Sunnybrook. So, and there's actually 2 entranceways off of Sunnybrook. We're going to keep 2 entranceways off of Sunnybrook, but we're sliding them down, and we're actually, yeah, that's the garage doors. And we're basically going to cut that access point into the garage and do some screening there to try to buffer that visual from Sunnybrook. You can see in the second section, sort of through the proposed accessory structure. I mean, this takes a little bit of time to study if you're looking at it, but if you look at those sort of Christmas tree-like looking depictions in the background, that line that is represented directly underneath those trees is the grade at the property line. So that's exactly right. So that's the grade at the extreme end of the property line, whereas the sort of elevation of the accessory structure and the retaining wall would be as you're cutting a section through the accessory structure. That's the so what it allows highlighting now is the existing grade where we've done the section, and then you can see where we're going to propose to drop that grade even further. So that's the result of, or the request to do a wall over 3 feet is because we are dropping the grade such to get the finished floor down and to get the accessory structure lower on the site. We can go to the planting plan if you want. I don't know if that's the, so the one other thing we have realized in studying this property, let's see, I think it might be, actually keep going, go back, yeah. The other direction, yeah. Right there. Ooh. So in light of sort of the proposed tree ordinance that we understood was being considered, and in sort of as a gesture of like goodwill and of trying to meet the tone and tenor of that ordinance, we've basically accounted for, with our removal of our trees, we've taken the formula that has been suggested in the latest version of that ordinance and provided replacement trees toward that end. So we have some tree evergreens along the sideline where the existing guest house was located. Our accessory structure now is lower, but we're actually showing more screening. We've added some trees in the courtyard, some trees flanking either side of the accessory structure and behind. And we've also added some screening evergreens on the Sunnybrook side that I mentioned earlier to screen the garage. And then we've actually added a couple of small flowering trees and an oak tree, I believe, up there at the corner. So basically what we're asking for is to relocate an accessory structure within the envelope on this lot, which kind of is a, you know, sort of an odd lot as far as setbacks go. And that's, I guess, my presentation. I'll take any questions if you guys have any.
This is Mal. Does the red dashed line represent the existing structure or the one that's proposed?
The red dashed line on this drawing that we're looking at right now is where the existing structure is located. So the yellow is where the proposed structure is located. So that Lyle's highlighting is the existing structure.
So all of the new structure, the section that's in yellow is inside the building envelope?
Yes.
And the only exception to the zoning code is that it's a detached structure?
That's correct.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I didn't quite understand.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have any questions of Isaac?
This is Pete. Does that, Lyle, I assume that all meets FAR.
Yes, it does.
I did not go out and look at the old structure, which, me, usually I do. But is that existing structure in good shape?
It is not.
No, it's really not. It's kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's not the best looking structure I've seen in Belle Meade. How about that,
Right.
Mr. Quinlan?
Pete, again,
it looks just as sort of the same on the inside too.
would it cost over 50% of its value to rebuild it?
Chad, do you want to? So Chad Harris is our contractor, and he's on as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely would cost far more than 50% to repair it. It's pretty much inhabitable at this point on the interior.
So Lyle, the board wouldn't allow it to them to repair it. So they'd have to keep it as it is or tear it down. And what they're proposing to do is just, in essence, rebuild it inside the building envelope.
That's correct.
Do I have that right?
That's correct.
And its use is what now? I can hardly read the drawing.
Can you zoom into that, Lyle? That drawing right there. So there's basically a pool table, kind of a sitting area with a TV and a fireplace, a little terrace to the side. There's a shop, so basically a woodworking kind of, just a hobby shop, and an office inside of it.
Okay, but that, I guess where we struggled with these in the past is that could easily be converted into an apartment, couldn't it? I mean, you've got everything in there that you need, all the plumbing, the bathrooms, the bathtubs, living area, bedroom area.
I suppose.
Well, we do have a short-term rental ordinance in place where that is not allowed.
Yeah, but it would be allowed for long-term rental. There's also an ordinance that prevents that, isn't there, Lyle?
Yes, there is.
What, long-term? There's not one
Yes.
for long-term, I don't think, is there? Is there?
Well, you're right, but there is a, only for those that are grandfathered in, you can't build a new long-term rental property.
That's correct.
Well, I think the intent of the applicant here is to build an office, a lounge, and a shop. So, I mean, if something happens down the road, it's converted into something that's improper, I think we would take a look at it at the time. Wouldn't that be correct, Lyle?
It would, if they were renting this out to someone, would catch that, and they would be coming before the BBCA. We do not allow rental properties. This is strictly a lounge, office, workshop area.
Okay, Doug, this is something we put deed restrictions on before. Is that something we should consider in this case?
I don't think that's necessary. If they violate the law, we cite them to city court. I don't think that's necessary too. I really don't.
Well, it's a much better look, I'm sure, than what's there now. It's looks like a nice design.
Yeah.
And the wall, would you show me again where that wall that's over 3 feet is? Is that blue?
Yes, sir, it is.
And how high is that?
I've zoomed in as tight as I can. I'm going to highlight this area up here. Top of wall, it appears to be 517.75. Bottom of wall is 511.75. So we're talking 6 feet, and I believe that's the highest point. Is that not correct, Isaac?
That is correct. And
that is acting as a retaining wall, not a decorative wall.
Okay.
And I believe it graduates down as you go towards the front of the property. Down here, it looks like we have 610.34, and the ground is 610.54. So yes, we graduate down as we go to the front of the property.
Mr. Wadley, why does the retaining wall need to be 6 feet?
Well, without it, we would be raising the accessory structure back up out of the ground. So basically, it's allowing us to place the finished floor of the accessory structure very close to the existing house. We still got 4 steps up to the accessory structure because we were mindful of not wanting to basically exceed what is sort of normally understood as the freestanding fence code, which would be 6 foot. So we wanted to be cognizant of trying not to exceed that number. So we've balanced the two in the site design. So we've basically, you come out of the house, you're flush with the patio to the right, and as you walk across towards the accessory structure, you would step up 4 steps, and then you actually step up another sill step into the accessory structure. So there's actually five steps to the accessory structure. And when we do that, just by the nature of the grade that's behind the existing guest house and the steepness of that slope, we've placed that retaining wall in order to do that.
So Isaac, I'm going to circle this ground area here is 61050. The FFE of the structure is 61250, correct?
That is, well, that's the shop that drops down. So the accessory, if you go to look at the under the pool table, right up next to the pool table, do you see that number? It's hard to see.
61275.
Right. Yeah.
And then in the back here, we have 617. This is why we need a retaining wall.
Right. And we looked at the possibility of trying to use the structure as the retaining, but that got complicated with the sort of waterproofing of that side, and so that was why we've left that passageway around.
Yeah. So it looks like it does elevate here in this space between the retaining wall and the structure slightly, about 1 foot, roughly.
Right. So we're letting so that's so that water that falls in that area can wash towards the front of the towards
Right.
Sunnybrook.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wadley. Anybody else want to speak on behalf of the applicant? Any board members have any questions of the applicant's representative? Okay, if not, I'm going to close off the public portion and ask the board to discuss it, please.
Well, since it's not on the application, this is Pete. Since it's not on the application, I'm assuming where that retaining wall goes, they're not going to have to do more digging than is required, than is allowed, I mean.
Well, we do have B, grade change over allowed amount of 24 inches between the property line and the 20-foot buffer, which is the triangle.
Right.
And that's the only area in question is this.
That's the only area where there's more.
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Pete seconded. Chris Tardio?
Yes, aye.
And you, Gloria?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well. So that's unanimously approved this proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, going back to the second item under new business, I believe the representatives have now joined us. The application of Kristen Payne, 4415 Harding Place for a conditional use permitting the construction of a sports court. The permit has been denied for the following reasons. Sports courts are use and require BZA approval. Ron, I think you're representing. If you would unmute yourself, you are up. Ron, you there?
I'm here.
All right.
I do not have video. You guys do.
I'm showing your site plan.
Yeah, if you would access that.
All right, it's up.
Tell me, Lyle, if you're hearing me okay, because I had to switch Wi-Fi's to get onto this.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the board for hearing our presentation. I apologize for my delay. I was without Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if Kristen Payne, did she join, Lyle?
Let me look.
If not,
don't see her, no.
Okay. She may join in. She'd indicated that she was, but she's out of town. like to give the board just a little bit of brief history. We recently completed a renovation to the residence. This residence is probably one of the older properties in the city. It was built around the early 1900s, as best we can tell. And the existing house, we put on a sunroom, family room addition, and a new terrace that's now labeled existing terrace. The existing garage is labeled, we believe, is also original. It has old servants' quarters to the left side that have been abandoned and have been converted to storage. But we don't know the vintage of the garden or some of the areas, but we do know some of the trees on the property are older than the residence itself. We've had arborists look at that. We're asking the board to consider a proposed what we call a play area or sports court. It's not going to have any permanent basketball goals or anything like that. It is simply a hard surface enough that their two young children can have a hard surface to play various activities, roller skate, they might put a temporary basketball goal on it. The reason we're asking for it is that the existing driveway is entirely a pea gravel structure. The 200-year-old to 300-year-old bur oak has a canopy that covers most of the driveway surface. The canopy is probably larger than I'm showing, but an arborist has advised them early to not pave or do any grading work to the existing gravel driveway for concern that the tree would be damaged and would most likely not live through the activity. It's a great old vintage tree. The other trees that I'm showing on the property are existing. So we have, if you go down to where we're proposing the play area, we have some natural built-in buffering that occurs already. Kristen Payne has reached out to the both immediate neighbors and the rear yard neighbor, and I believe we have a letter of support from the rear yard neighbor. But to our knowledge, no one is opposed to its location or the size or the concept of it. Where it is placed was strategic. There is an existing dog kennel that's been that was in disrepair. It was not theirs. It was from the original or the previous owner. But all of that will be cleaned up and removed, and it will be nestled in kind of the L of that existing garden that they wish to keep. There's an existing 3-foot fence around the garden. We are not going to fence around the proposed play slab. There is a proposed new fence, which is in the dashed red line or dashed black line that will be going in from house corner and garage corner to property line and then around the entire perimeter property of the structure. There is a existing small little brick patio with a walk that we wish to remain, that will walk out to the little play area. I think that's it. They have 2 young children, preteens. The goal is to provide them a little bit of hard surface to play on. With that, I'll open it for questions.
Questions, anybody?
Ron, is it paved? This is Merrill.
It will be a concrete surface.
And this is Gloria. Is it going to be lit at all, or?
No. No, the intent is it'll set at grade. We're not proposing any lighting on poles or anything like that. We are back up and say we are within all of our ratio components, hard surface. So we're not exceeding any of the allowables as bulk standards. I think Lyle's pulled up the letter that is the rear yard neighbor from Mrs. Mary Proctor and David Proctor. And then there's the other letter from neighbors at 4417 Harding. I believe the house to the right of this property has been sold, which is, in this view, would be to the left. It's the house that is the most oriented, the closest to this property in the play area would be the furthest from the house located on the left of this drawing. The hope is that it would be as least disruptive to any and all of the existing landscaping that is there, and nestle it back into that L of that existing little garden. Hide it behind the garage.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Anybody else want to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay, if not, Mr. Ferris, any other comments? I think you've done a pretty thorough job explaining the purpose. Pete?
I got a question of,
Sure.
I guess maybe Lyle or Doug, but sports courts are not mentioned in the zoning code. I know we had problems before with things that were not mentioned, like bocce ball courts specifically. Pardon me? Is it okay to approve something as an accessory use that's not mentioned in the ordinance? I know before we had to get it added to the ordinance. It's like I said, a bocce ball court before we could approve it. That may have been a conditional use. I don't remember, as opposed to an accessory structure.
I asked myself the same question when I read the
use in this case too. Yeah.
This afternoon, I guess if it's not regulated, they can just build it. So,
Hey, Pete, this is Ron.
Yep.
I haven't presented one of these before. It's normally handled by landscape. That's not pro or con of what I'm doing, but my experience with these is that they've generally been brought before the board when they have, they're located in close proximity to neighboring properties and when they have lighting, of which we don't, I think, fall into those two categories. But Lyle and I felt it was prudent to bring it in front of the variance board.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it as long as we have the authority to approve it. That's all I'm trying to make sure that, you know, we're within our purview.
Well, until our authority is challenged, we have the authority. Right, Doug?
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. That sounds like a bold plaintiff's lawyer's way of looking at the world.
Oops.
It's within the intention of the ordinance to regulate uses like this. If it's not, then they can have the right to. It's a by right use of their property. They don't have to come. So they submitted to our jurisdiction in the hopes to get a blessing. So, the way I look at it.
So they don't need to come before the board for this?
Sir?
I said they don't need to come before the board for this?
It's a question. I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and approve it and we'll sort it out later.
Okay.
Let's close off the public portion. Board members, anybody have any more questions or thoughts, comments?
So I've got one question. It's Chris. It's probably a question for Doug, I suppose. And this may be something you all know and I don't know yet, but if it's approved today, let's say in 2 or 3 years that sports court wants they want lighting, they want to add lighting, or they want to turn it into a tennis court when the kids graduate high school, or there's some material change to it, do they come back? Or are we approving it?
Assuming it was a tennis court or something we obviously do have jurisdiction over, I would say yes, they would have to come back.
Okay, for a material change to it?
Well, the accessory statute section doesn't talk about material changes. It's very specific. It says tennis court. It doesn't address your question. Well, I don't know the answer.
Well, it's Gloria, and it does talk about tennis court and lighting and things like that that could affect, the neighbors.
Yeah, well, the hypothetical wasn't tennis. It was just lighting. I think. Did you say lighting, Chris?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, if one of the, and I'll just say, I don't have any problem at all with this proposal. I'm just thinking, what are we approving? Are we approving an accessory court with nothing on it? Or are we approving an accessory court that can later be a tennis court, a basketball court, a lit area? I don't know. Maybe that's a question for Doug, or if it's
Chris, this is Lyle. I can answer that. If they come back with any change whatsoever, they have to come before the board again.
Okay.
Lighting, tennis court, or anything else.
They could use it for, I'm sorry, they can use it for a pickleball court, or just, something that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, they can use it. It's not going to be big enough for a tennis court, I don't believe, but certainly wouldn't use it. It's got concrete floors, but they can use a skateboard and just anything that's minor on that pad, I would think, without coming back for the board.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve as submitted.
Okay, Gloria made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second this, Chris.
Okay. And how do you vote, Pete?
Aye.
And Gloria voted. Let's see, who am I missing? Mal, how do you vote?
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted.
Yep.
Well, all right. I vote aye. So that would be 4 in favor.
There he is.
You're muted, Mal.
Oh, you came over.
You're muted.
I vote aye.
There we go. Okay, we got a unanimous approval of the motion and the plate and the accessory use. Okay. The only thing we have left is the minutes of last month's meeting. Everybody read them. Anybody have a motion to approve or disapprove?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay,
Second it.
Gloria, second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? No. I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Great meeting.
Before you adjourn, could we have just a little bit of conversation about that first application? I got confused about a variance.
I think since they're no longer here, Pete, we should not discuss it as a board. Why don't I get the board a memo? Lyle urged me to do this last month. Let me get the board a memo about variances and variance procedure before your next meeting, so we'll have that all down and the ins and outs of that. I don't recommend discussing it while they're not here. That's a due process problem. So.
Well, the application was approved, but
no, it
wasn't. It wasn't. Okay. All right. That's fine.
That's my advice.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm fine with that. I just got confused during it.
I apologize, folks, for not getting that to you. Lyle mentioned that to me, and just time got away.
Well, we don't have to follow your advice. We can go on and talk about it, but I'm kidding.
Up to you, man.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Good job, Joe. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Chris.
Yeah, welcome, Chris.
Appreciate it.